Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another exclusive interview, CubersLive interview with one of, I think, our favorites, Matty Hiroto Inaba. How's it going, Matty? Good to talk to you once again.
Yes, I'm doing good.
After what has been, I think, a very, very interesting start to NAC. Would you agree?
I would agree.
NAC including All Stars.
Oh yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about coming into like NAC. Tell me a little bit about like your practice, mindset, regimen, things like that.
Well, I've been practicing a lot of, honestly, like not really 3x3, more like
Really?
4x4, 5x5.
Interesting.
Because I have insane potential in those events, and I haven't really like broke out yet in 4 and 5. So I want to kind of have my good rounds in those.
Moment in the sun, I guess.
Yeah, moment in the sun.
Okay.
You know, kind of get into that top 5 world ranking. That would be good for me. And then, yeah, obviously I've been practicing 3x3. I relearned all my TU and LZBs, so those are pretty locked in.
Okay.
Relearned all my VLSs. I used one in NA All-Stars Finals, and that was pretty smooth.
I'm trying to remember.
It was like a weird setup to free rough.
Wait, no, this sounds right. This sounds right. I do recall this. There was so much going on in NA All Stars.
Yeah.
There's so many storylines. Tell me a little bit about like the solving environment and what that was like compared to the other like major finals you've been in.
Yeah, well, it was pretty comfortable in the finals because I like got. Usually the finals are the first time you solve in front of like the big crowd, but then like the first and second round I already did that, so I kind of was like chill already. So I kind of just did my thing, and it was interesting solving next to the person.
Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, it was cool to like hear the solve because you can't really watch it, but then you could hear how fast it is.
So I don't know if you watched Timon's podcast that he did. They called it a podcast, but it was just him, DG, and Luke Garrett.
Oh, okay.
They were just chatting about for like 40 minutes about whatever.
Yeah.
One of the things that he said that you said was for the 3, because you weren't allowed to like look at the cube, you weren't allowed to look at the time or anything. You were just off doing your own thing. He said that you said to him, it's like, I don't know what that was, but it sounded like a 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you could you could tell.
You could, yeah, because there's not really many pauses in that solve, but like you could hear like the momentary pause before the last layer.
Yeah.
And then that happened like 1.5 seconds into the solve. So I'm like, oh, that's a 3.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it was quite surreal seeing all those people because you know, it's one thing when it's like Nats finals or whatever and like, you know, there's all the people in the crowd. I feel like it's really different when you have all the people watching above you also. What did you think of like the venue and like, and then the other thing I want to ask is, did it ever cross your mind to like, we asked this at the end of it, All Stars as well. Did it ever cross your mind to like try and safety so you can make it into the next rounds, or was it like going to be a lock? So yeah, talk on both of those.
So first of all, the crowd and stuff, it was pretty cool because I had never had that multi-level viewing thingy. So yeah, I added a little bit of pressure, but I was able to calm down by the end. So now, I guess now I'm used to it if there's ever a crowd like that again. And what was the other part of the question?
What was the other part of the question? Now I've completely forgotten.
Oh, safetying.
Oh, yes.
Well, obviously I don't want to get 2 DNFs in one average, so yeah, I just made sure to solve the cube the first 2 rounds, and then yeah, just do my thing in the finals, I guess.
Talk about 535, because it seems like everyone kind of agreed in that final round that, you know, the scrams were relatively easy, or they were good scrams at least.
They were.
Talk a little bit about 535 on that set of scrambles.
Yeah,
any good?
Nah, that's pretty bad. So the first scramble was probably one of the best I've ever had officially.
Both of you got 4s on that one.
Yeah, we both got 4s, and I had like a weird end perm, but that's not an excuse. But like, yeah, that was a good scramble. The last one was good too, but because I wanted to get like my VPA, and I was looking at my solution, and I'm like, this is not good enough to get a sub 476.
Oh, you look back on it?
Yeah, so no, like during the inspection. So I'm like,
see,
let me just switch colors for fun. And then I completely butchered it. But it was worth a shot because my worst possible average was okay, so yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I see. Because that was the one that I think Caleb Chen, like immediately before you guys, had also gotten a 4 on. I think Ray Bai, I think he got like 521 on that or something like that too. So yeah, that was the one that we were looking for. Is like, what will Timon and Matty do with this one? Because this one has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
Timon, I think 501.
501, yeah.
Yeah. So
Solid.
so yeah, it was just awesome. Tell me a little bit about what you think of the format and whether or not you think we should have like more All-Stars like events.
Definitely have more. It's super entertaining for us and for the spectators, I think. And yeah, it's a little bit weird to have the same group have different scrambles. Or like the same round, different groups.
Right.
So if there's obviously no way to change that. So that's a little bit of a hiccup, but yeah, that's my only complaint. Yeah, but as long as actually it doesn't matter. As long as the finals are the same scramble, I think it's cool.
Okay, well, I mean, it does make it an interesting case because at NA All-Stars, it was really tight, right? So going into it, this is something we talked about with Dylan earlier today also. He thought that, like, in order to make the next round, it's going to be like 6.8.
Yeah.
It ended up being 7.7. Is that kind of also like what you expected, or did you think it was going to be like tough?
I really like had no idea.
Yeah.
Like I don't really look at the psych sheets at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. So you know, based on that, it was going to be tight either way. So you could make an argument that like, well, if one set of scrams is really good and the other set of scrambles is like really really bad, it's like an external influence compared to the actual like solving capability. And you know, it kind of comes down to luck in some factor. But I am a little bit of the mindset that at least in the future, solvers are just going to be so good to the point where like that amount of luck is going to be, I think it's not going to matter as much because if you weren't going, even if you weren't going to make the finals on the bad set of scrambles, you probably weren't going to make it on the good set of scrambles anyway.
Very true. Very true.
Or at least I think the good solvers are going to distinguish themselves in that way, where luck is like going to be less of a factor.
Yeah.
When you get luck in your solves, like either good or bad, like how does that kind of affect your head? Or are you just like, I just need to execute?
Well, it's like I've trained myself to be positive in both scenarios. So if I get unlucky, I say, okay, I'm due for luck. And if I get lucky, I'm saying, all right, it's my day.
Okay. Yeah, that I actually really like that because I feel like a lot of people, what happens is like they get like something lucky and then they're like kind of like stressed or tensioned up. How do you like not let that get to your head?
I've read several books on this topic.
Okay,
actually.
I need to hear it. I need to hear it.
Yeah.
Hey, give me all the details.
So basically, it comes down to just doing one solve at a time. It comes down to going through the same routine before every solve.
Routine.
Yeah. So I just whatever you want to do just to get in the zone, and then from there you have to accept whatever happens. And that goes both ways. If it's lucky, it's just like, all right, that's sick. If it's unlucky, just say, all right, next one will be better. And you go to the next one, you say, go through the same routine, let's see what happens. Oh, it gets lucky, all right, I'm chilling. It gets unlucky, all right, the next two solves will be good. You know, and that way you keep positive every single solve. And yeah, even though some may see it as delusional, I see it as
optimistic.
Using your mind in a powerful way to like make you more positive, I guess.
Sure, yeah, because I think there's so much mental game into it, right? And I think it's not super well explored. I feel like only now, like, we're starting to get into it a lot more. I don't know if you saw, but like at Felix and Max Cube Camp, right? Felix actually had the kids do like a particular exercise where they like gave themselves 3 good solves that would like be like PR or PB or something, and it's like, all right, now like it's your job to go up onto the stage with all the lights and the cameras and try and do 2 more solves and just clutch it out. You know, you might throw one, but then you get another one to try and bring it back. I thought it was interesting. Tell me a little bit about like your practice regimen? Is that like similar-ish to like kind of stuff you do?
Well, I just do like competition simulations a lot, and you're bound to have a good start like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I don't really think every single solve, the like, someone just got a good time. I heard the clapping.
Yes.
So like the more similar you think before each solve, the better I feel you do. So like when I'm solving really well, actually like I'm getting to the point where I forget my times mid-average.
That's interesting.
Like I've trained myself to literally forget what I got before, so then it doesn't. I'm just going into it like my first solve.
And every solve you're just trying to get a 3 or whatever.
Yeah, one solve at a time. Yeah.
That's really really interesting. It's like contextless or memoryless.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I think I have not heard that from any other top solver. So that's really unique. That's really. I don't know if you know like what other people's mindsets are. Do you think you have like a really strong mental relative to other people, or?
I feel like all of us in the top have some knowledge of how to think, obviously.
I guess you kind of have to. At
Yeah,
this
you
level.
kind of have to. You won't, put it this way, you won't get this fast if you don't think right.
Well,
Yeah.
at least not officially.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, we're all pretty good. I wouldn't say I have an advantage over anybody. I just think my way, and yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Interesting. Tell me about also, because for you, like majors and like larger competitions are much rarer than for a lot of other people. Like Luke is like Luke Garrett. He's competing like every weekend, right? And he's absurd. I think he's like this year he's like NAR like top 3 or something in competitions attended. But for you, it's a lot rarer because I mean, flying out is expensive. It takes a ton of time.
Yeah.
Recently, you've had like a stretch of like back to back like larger competitions. We had the one in the Bay Area.
Yes.
Then you had Northwest Champs.
Northwest. Yeah.
And then I think immediately after that was this, or that your next competition was this.
Yeah,
one.
yeah. It was like a week and a half after, I guess. But yeah, that's very close for me. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about that because it's so rare for you. What is it like? I guess like going into like this like championship season, and and then you have SSL after this too. So yeah, tell me what it's like. How do you like prepare for that mentally?
It's just accepting that you'll have some bad rounds and some good rounds. Like my NA All Stars was not a good round actually. So I would say
insane. I don't know how you can say that.
I would say my Northwest Championships was a good round. And then my other one was not so ideal. So I'm due for a good round either here or SSL. So that would be great. But yeah, there's not really much difference. I feel like the more you treat it differently, the more you kind of psych yourself out. I've learned that the hard way from last summer.
Yeah.
I did like mid in Nats and Worlds because I kind of just psyched myself out basically. So, and yeah, I've coming off of some pretty good stuff right now, so I feel like that this is the better way to think.
So let's talk about that. I think you are the hottest cuber right now.
Thank you.
I think like right now, like your averages are just absurd. Okay, actually, I'll preface that. You, Yihang, and Timon.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the 3 of you are really hot right now.
Thank you.
You all have like put up really good averages across like multiple different scenarios and a lot of different environments. Tell me what it's like kind of being on this hot streak, or is it kind of like the same thing? It's like this could end at any point, so just ride it while it's here.
Yeah, I see it like. This is so cocky.
No, do it.
Yeah, this is not a hot streak, I would say. Like compared to my solves at home.
Okay.
Yeah, if I say what I do at home, people are not going to believe me. That's how good it is.
I want to hear it though.
No, I'm not going to say
Okay,
it.
fine.
But yeah, it's miles better than what I'm doing right now. So I feel like I really haven't even had my breakout round yet in 3x3.
That's insane to say.
Yeah, I'm really close mentally, and my skill is there. So yeah, hopefully it comes this comp where I get into that flow state because I'm like every single round. I'm trying to like learn stuff because cubing is very good because when you're at like kind of like the top, right?
Yeah.
You face a lot of pressure, but then if you lose, like nothing happens. Whereas like something like professional golf, you risk like losing your tour card.
A lot of cash and stuff too.
You risk losing your privilege to play on the tour. So yeah, cubing is a very good environment where you can face high pressure with no consequences. So I try and use that opportunity and just try as like many different things as possible. So like every single round, every single head-to-head final, I'm trying something different. And just like making a note of it. I have notes on my phone just like saying like this thought, does it work or not? How many solves did I do well? Like how was I thinking? So I'm just doing that in preparation for further stuff. If I want to go into golf, I'll have all these notes already. I'll know how to think.
Oh, interesting. So it's not even necessarily cubing related. It's like kind of like what's going on inside.
Yeah, I'm just using cubing as like a way to learn quickly. I feel like cubing is a super accelerated learning process where I guess it's not really accelerated because it took me 7 years to get as fast as I am. But now it's like a perfect platform to just say F it and just do whatever and just learn stuff. Like I'd rather learn it here than like mess up on the golf course and like lose my tour card when I'm older or something,
That's so gigabrain. Like that is such an amazing mindset to come into this with. It's just like everything is everything just kind of like an experiment to you then? It's just like let's just try a bunch of stuff out and see what sticks.
Throughout my career, I would say more than probably anybody I've experimented. Like super fast cubes, super slow cubes. sending the turning, turning calmly.
Yeah.
Do I think about the solves I had beforehand? Do I not? Do I how many breaths do I take before this? It's like so many different things you can adjust and just see what happens.
Down to this, what was it, the smoked salmon right before eating that for breakfast, maybe?
Yeah, exactly.
Man, okay, wow, that's such an interesting. It's very analytical, and it's like a lot of notes. I assume you're also taking a ton of notes on the actual solving itself and figuring out, like, this was just a bad solution, or lock up here.
Yeah, that's actually the weird thing. You think super analytical, and then you analyze it a little bit. Like, obviously, so the kind of like things I take away from NA All-Stars finals, like I need to practice my G perms because I messed up one really bad, in that 518, and then so yeah, first solve was nothing wrong with it. Second solve was like decent. I need to work on my Y perms though. I messed up a few. I messed up one on either the second or third solve. I messed up the Y perm, so I'll practice those a little bit. And then last solve was just nothing. It was just committing to a solution.
Well, yeah, I mean the last one, because at that point your WP was already going to be pretty good, right?
It's probably just it was just a lack of focus and just being a little too aggressive, like not committing to a solution. Like it's like, oh, maybe I can find something better, and I just completely throw.
Interesting. So this is something that Schwan told me in Mexico. He's like, if you ever watch Max solve, like it's going to be a good solution if he stops rotating, or at least like if he's just not rotating everywhere. If he's just like looking around, then you know that he has a good solution in mind. So that's really interesting.
That's kind of me too.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, no, I've had some good solves in the past where I've picked the color last minute, but yeah, in general, I'm trying to sway towards just committing early on and just dialing it in. Yeah.
Okay, I think we also talked about how like I don't remember if it was the 4 in the finals, but if there was some solve that was like 3.5 pairs you saw in inspection.
Oh yeah, that was
Is that something you've been working on, like trying to see deeper and deeper?
I've never really worked on that. It just kind of happened naturally. Just doing more solves, you kind of just know where pieces are going, and it's not just about planning. Like, it's about planning good stuff too. Like I could, like on every solve, I could probably plan like 3, but like it would be like a bad 3 pairs. I would rather plan like 2 pairs that are like 10 moves less than the 3 pairs. So that's the balance. So like, I feel like some people they start planning a bunch of pairs, but then it's not like good solutions. Whereas like you could do that for a little while. That helps with intuition, but then maybe just switch to
just better solutions.
Yeah, better solutions, and then doing more pairs with the better solutions. That's how Yiheng does it. Yeah.
So it's so interesting because I remember like many years ago, this is not a conversation we would have. Many years ago, it was cross +1.
Yeah.
That was like basically all that mattered, and then and then from there, it's like your look ahead is what really drove you, and then you needed TPS in order to actually be able to use those garbage tier cubes. But now it seems like everyone is really pushing towards better inspection. Perhaps is better way to say it is using your inspection time wisely in order to come up with smarter solutions.
Yeah.
That's something Dilly Millie has mentioned. I mean, Timon has some great solutions.
He does, yes.
We all know about Yiheng's like incredible ability to just go.
He goes.
Yeah, so it's very, very interesting to see like how like I feel like top level solving is evolving really, really quickly. Is that something that you experience too?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like Yiheng Wang is like insane right now. He's who all we want to, like who all of us want to be, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just look at his solves a lot. He's the man, and yeah, Timon's doing well. I'm doing well. Max Park, like literally, it's coming to the point where like the top 20 in the world, if they all came to a competition, like any of them could win if it's their day. I would say.
Yeah, no, I think it's really interesting. The margins feel like they're getting smaller, but at the same time, Yiheng's also insane right now.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, Yiheng is just built different, basically.
Okay. Who would you back right now to beat Yiheng, maybe other than yourself?
Other than myself, definitely Max Park, because he did it before, or Timon.
Yeah.
Because he did it before. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, but you're up against the wall, right? Because he's also improving all the time. and everyone else is also improving. So it's just like the goalpost keeps moving. If you will.
And I feel like Yiheng deserves all that he has. He probably
Hmm.
outworks all of us. So if there's anyone who should be as fast as he is, it's him, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can also say that. Well, it goes both ways, like in terms of his age, right?
Mhm.
One sense, he's young, so he has a lot of time. He can
Mhm.
do this all the time. But on the other hand, he has nothing else to do. Like he
Yeah.
has no other responsibility. Whereas, like,
Yeah.
I mean, you're in school. Are you still playing golf?
Yes, I am.
And then
full-time.
you're also doing art, and then you also have like really good grades, as we saw on your Instagram a while ago.
Yeah.
How do you balance all of this? I think we asked this in San Diego too, but
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. I just use, the main thing is that you don't let one like stop progressing. Like I use everything to help everything. Like how I said like, oh, I use cubing to help with golf. Like it also helps with my test taking too, because like it trains me to focus. So then I get better grades, and then art I don't really work on. That's the one thing I feel like in my life that I have a natural talent for.
okay,
Is art. But like everything else, like
tons of grinding.
I have
and
to work
just-
for it, and then it just comes. And then yeah. So I think the key for me is just making sure I find ways to like improve all of them at once.
It's like kind of finding like the common thread between them, maybe.
Yeah, definitely.
Interesting. And what do you think that is? Do you think it is just all mental?
Yeah, it's just mental
Time management, perhaps, maybe.
time management and just letting yourself be good. Like
Letting yourself be good. Speak to
Yeah.
that a little bit more.
yeah, it's just like, so I read this book. It's called I read too many books. I think it's called Golf is Not a Game of Perfect. It's by this sports psychologist named Bob Rotel. I think I read like 5 or 6 of his books already, but this book in particular is pretty good because he like it's all about letting yourself succeed. It's all about, he calls it getting out of your own way,
Yeah.
and it's basically all about eliminating self-doubt and like seeing yourself doing well. And I feel like that applies to literally everything I do. Like, if you think before a test, like, oh, I'm cooked, then like you look at a question. If you think you're cooked, then you're cooked. But then if you think, oh, I'm gonna
You got to
cook,
give yourself a chance,
yeah.
essentially.
If you think you're gonna do well, you look at the problem. Maybe you see something better. Just like cubing, you think, oh, I'm gonna do bad on this solve, whatever. You look at the scramble, you automatically set yourself up for failure if you don't think you're gonna do well. And in a golf shot, especially, I think more than
definitely golf.
than cubing and test taking, and like school and stuff. It's just visualizing your shot first.
Mm-hmm.
And then hitting it. I feel like that's something that cubing helps with a lot. Is just being able to replicate what you want in your head.
Even my like double bogey ability, like even I agree. I absolutely agree with this golf thing because you go in and you're just like, I'm just gonna shank it or whatever, and then that's exactly what happens. So, no, it's so interesting that like the way I think you think about things is just very, very unique. And it's very interesting because I actually don't think any other top solvers think like this. At least like not to the same capability. Let's talk a little bit about the future. We got Worlds coming up next year, and I don't know if that's something that's in your mind already. If you're already thinking about like planning for Worlds.
Yeah, I am. I'm gonna switch to the GAN 15 after this comp.
Oh yeah.
It's like my peak speed will get faster. And I feel like that's what I will need to beat Yiheng is my peak to be higher. So right now, at my peak solving, I can beat Yiheng with the GAN 12. But I feel like if I switch to the GAN 15, my peak solving will be able to like beat his peak solving.
Okay.
Which is what I need.
Okay,
Yeah.
I see. You're basically giving yourself more margin for error also.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, interesting.
And it will take a lot of just getting better at cubing because the cube is super fast and super flexy. So my peak TPS is like absurd with it, but I still need to get rid of like the lockups and stuff.
Okay.
That'll take time. Yeah.
Okay. What would you say is like the biggest thing you need to work on between now and Worlds, and like kind of how do you plan to tackle that?
Mainly, that's a hard question.
I mean, it's like a year out too, right?
I
So
feel
it's
like
to
I
say.
should just work on everything. I should work on getting my F2L solid. And I think it's my last layer that kind of gets my solves bad sometimes, like not stopping the timer fast enough. Like I kind of just cruise.
It's definitely a skill.
Yeah, I need to work on my I'm not saying I'm gonna slide or anything, but I just need to work on my pickups and and stopping. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, there's just so much into it, right? And well, that's also an interesting thing. I feel like last layer has not been super discussed in a long time. It was just like, oh, you should just grind like PLL time attack or whatever, and you know you're just there and that's good enough. But now I feel like there are points where like there's just no margin for error. Honestly, like if you lock up, then you cost yourself even the 10th of a second is just gonna end up mattering because I mean Worlds is decided by 0.01 seconds, right? So there's a lot of stuff I think, and the good news is that there's a year, and if you're also experimenting a lot, at least you can try and see, well, this works, this doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
I guess that's the whole overall goal.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's why that's the good thing about what I do. You get better every comp. Because like if you just try, if you try the same thing over and over, and you see how it works, then you don't improve. But if you try something different and better every single time,
it's data.
Yeah, it's just data, and like. First of all, you figure out if it works, and then you alter it, and then make it better. So yeah, it's like an endless cycle.
You know what this is? This is like you're like running like a machine learning model almost. You're doing like hyperparameter optimization right now, where you're just like you're on like we call this thing gradient descent, right? You're on like this multi-dimensional slope, and there's so many variables that you can adjust. And you're saying, okay, I'm gonna pick this one, see how it works, and then I'm just gonna tweak one kind of randomly, and just see like. Is it making my solving better, or is it making it worse?
Pretty much, yeah.
And then from there, you're just figuring out on this huge hyperdimensional space, like what are the exact set of parameters I need to do, the number of breaths or whatever,
I think
amount
so.
and the number of seconds.
That makes sense.
Is that what it is?
That sounds
Matty
like what
Hiroto
it is.
Inaba, the machine learning model?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I think that's a really interesting way to think about it, is like, you know, all these parameters and everything. Would you say that, you know, I feel like PNW is more or less like a second home for you.
Yeah, it is.
So would you say that it's like, you know, Worlds is like coming home?
Yeah, it definitely is. Those were the first US guys that I like made friendships with. And yeah, they're still my friends. Like Max Shaw and his whole group, you know.
Yeah.
We're just There
are so many pictures of like you all like when you were like very, very tiny and you'd all like cube together.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool because we all got better together, you know.
Yeah.
And we all picked our separate events too. Like I was the 3x3 guy, Max Shaw and Samir are the square one guy, you know, like it's just pretty cool to see like how people advance, how we get better, like
it's definitely very interesting. Let's I kind of want to pivot on that a little bit. So one thing that I think that's really interesting is I think cubing is in a really interesting spot right now in terms of we're kind of in between like cubing being a sport and being a hobby. You know, there's like loads of hobbyists, like people like me, we're just out here, we're just kind of having fun. It doesn't really matter how fast we're going. And then there's people like you and like the competitive aspect, which is like really tight and it's turning into there's like a lot of sports stuff. There are coaches, right?
Yeah.
There's like a lot of like mental stuff that goes in, and then there's like this hyperparameter optimization. Where do you think cubing is going to end up? Do you think cubing can remain kind of at this crossroads forever, or do you think it's going to end up tilting one way or the other, or maybe both is possible?
Well, it's definitely going to go more towards like analytical coaching and stuff, because like if you look at something like golf, it was, you know, in the 1700s in Scotland. I'm sure they were just doing it as a hobby, just whacking the stick around.
They were bored.
Yeah, they were just bored. But then as people went on, they're like, oh, let me get better than this guy. And then that guy's like, oh, let me get better than this guy.
Yeah.
And then now you have TrackMan getting data on every single golf shot the pros hit on tour, you know, and then they use that data to make themselves better, optimizing every single swing. Even on their putts, they look at numbers on their putts to see how it's rolling. Like, it's going to get to that point in cubing, and yeah, it's pretty exciting to see where that goes.
Okay, interesting. So do you think that there is going to end up being like a space for like the casual space? Do you think?
Oh yeah.
Or do you think it's going to like separate into like basically two tiers? Well, maybe tiers is the wrong word, but like I guess.
Yeah,
like
it's definitely two levels, I guess, because like, yeah, I mean there is an intersection though. Like when you're like me, like in golf, like I'm definitely not as good as the pros, but I'm not like a weekend player, you know?
Right.
So like, yeah, they would. I think they're gonna be three. It's gonna be like
interesting.
It's gonna be the pros, you know, like guys like Yihang is already doing, you know, just insane, right?
Yeah.
And then there's gonna be people,
the
you know, just starting out, you know, doing beginner's method, and then there's yeah, and then there's gonna be people that are breaking into the Yihang tier, and yeah.
I think that'll be really interesting to see. Tell me a little bit about what you think the future formats are going to look like. You think Algebra 5 is the format of the future, or like do you think there is going to be more head-to-head. Dilly Millie was talking about double elimination bracket. Speak on that a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's again related to golf. It's like stroke play or match play.
Yeah.
So the elimination bracket will be good for it's like a stroke play event where a match play event where you go head to head. So that would be good for some people who, like to just compete against one person. Whereas, I think as it gets more and more, okay, this is a bold statement, but like as it gets more and more
bold is great. I
competitive,
want to hear it.
I think we should see the average size get bigger, like maybe like averages of 12, because like I feel like it's gonna get to the point where everybody is getting like really good averages of 5. So it's gonna be the bigger the average, the more people's consistency and actual speed shows. So maybe that will be the equivalent of stroke play where you do many solves.
I guess like you're leveling up from like 3 holes to 6 holes to 9 to 18.
Basically, yeah.
Interesting. I guess that's also feasible. I mean, one of the reasons why we do average of 5 is mainly because so we can get 5 solves done.
Yeah.
But if you're at the highest tier where everyone is like a 6-second solver, then you could do an average of 12, and it's not going to be that. It's like Monkey League, right?
Literally.
It would actually be a good length to watch, and there's lots of opportunities for drama and whatnot. Okay, that's really interesting. That's really interesting. What do you think about like having like? So there was a discussion basically on Cubis's Friends, like should the World Championships end up being or major championships, should they end up being more like an all-stars format where there's just like a small select number of people who get invited, and so just like one event, and you just do this one event, several rounds, maybe with a knockout or whatever, or do you kind of like prefer like this like large, like we got this 4-day competition, every single event, more or less anyone can show up?
I feel like there should be like 2 types of majors, because you're halting the progress of the next generation if you don't let them have access to these huge competitions.
Sure.
So I would say there should be a few where it's like an open, like the U.S. Open or British Open, where you can qualify to get in through maybe like smaller tournaments, and then there should be invite-only tournaments just for the top whatever.
We're talking like Masters,
10,
basically.
Yeah, literally, yeah. So there will be a place where the best of the best can do it, and there'll be a place where the up-and-coming people can gain experience against the best of the best, basically, yeah.
Interesting. I think, personally, I think that's kind of where we're going to end up, because that's something that Dylan mentioned as well, is having some stuff that caters more towards the top solvers and gives them more opportunity to like go against each other and kind of just showcase what they can do against each other.
Yeah.
I think it's certainly very interesting. This is not a conversation we would have had 10 years ago.
Yeah, definitely
10 years ago, we were thinking like, 10 years ago, I was like, yeah, this is a Rubik's Cube. But, the community was like, where do we go from here after Worlds 2013? It's like just like how can we continue to grow? And I think even like live streaming things like this, that was like way beyond what was going to happen.
Yeah.
But I think it's really interesting. I think the pandemic almost accelerated all of this because I mean, it definitely. Do you think it accelerated your growth?
Yeah, definitely.
It's a lot of time, right?
Yeah, I feel fortunate that Monkey League and Cubing at Home were a thing, because that's why I say it's so important for those up-and-coming people to gain experience, because the only reason why I'm as fast as I am is I was able to compete with guys like Timon and Leo in those Monkey League and Cubing at Home. So that exposed to me like, damn, I need to get better.
Almost like a lower stakes environment.
Yeah,
like
lower stakes environment, but it's like a wake-up call that like you're not going to win.
Something needs to change.
Yeah, you're not going to win if you're like solving like this. So yeah, that's a good thing.
That's interesting. And then last thing I'm going to ask, and I'll let you go. How do you think like you as a cuber have kind of like changed from like pre-pandemic to now? Like kind of like emotionally, skill-wise, I'm sure there's lots you could talk about. But I'm more so thinking like emotionally, mentally.
Okay, yeah. Well, I always go through up and downs in cubing. So like my up was probably... Actually, no, I've always been pretty up. I can't really think of any like times I've been down in cubing. So yeah, it's always been positive, just having fun. My skills definitely improved. Like my good times are getting better. My bad times are also getting better, which is more important.
Yeah.
And then I've been like, when I was young, I would get really upset when I like lost. Especially like before, because I use the mindset that like, oh, you like have to win for NAC 2022, and I won that. So it put a false thing in my head that putting that much pressure on yourself makes you win. And then I used that same mentality for Worlds, and it didn't work. And now I'm coming off like a lot of good performances in big tournaments because I'm putting pressure off now. And that's another thing. Like maybe this doesn't work in here SSL. Maybe I go back to the high pressure. That's what I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Okay. It's the combinations of high parameters. What exactly works? All very, very interesting. All right, Matty, you want to look into this one and just shout out all your socials, everything.
So yeah, I'm Matty Inaba, the Cubing Jedi on YouTube and Instagram. I'm not gonna give my Snapchat. I don't want people snapping me.
Yeah, no. That's a bit odd.
Yeah. I'm gonna have fun. See you guys later.
All right, best of luck, Matty.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
for the interview, my friend.
No problem.
So much fun. So good.
All right, that was good.
Bro, I don't know how you managed to come up with like. There's no way. You actually. This is your mindset, really?
Yeah, like.